Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic night of Sci-Fi Vision presents Fandom Access. I'm your ever faithful host, AJ. Greetings and salutations, and along with me is Karen, and Jamie will be here shortly.
Hello! Glad to be back with you this week. Jamie's a little bit late, right? So we're going to maybe jump in, get moving without her.
She can jump in and tell us what she thinks.
All right.
What are we doing first?
Well, tonight we got Dune, we got Silo, and we got Earth Abides, which is just a little, Jamie, I'll take a minute with that. So I don't know, Silo or Dune. How about Silo?
I guess we'll start with Silo. It sounds like you don't really like Earth Abides very much.
Well, did you see my text? It's not really a show. It's just a series of vignettes about, and everything always works out fine in the end. There's very little conflict on that show, and conflict makes for good television. Every conflict is, and so we're on episode 3, and already 14 years have passed. Time jumps. It's kind of boring. People like it, but it's a little boring. So
sounds a little boring.
Yeah. It's all about how easy it's going to be when civilization ends, I guess. Gotcha. Yeah. So we can start with Silo. So this was episode 5, right? Episode 5. And I already forgot the name of it. But this episode, once again, it takes place in the 2 silos. Multiple stories going on at the same time, mostly in Silo 17 this week, I think.
I thought it was kind of split.
Yeah, it's kind of split. I guess just not much really happened in Silo 18 with Juliet and Solo. Maybe we should talk about them first.
Juliet and Solo are in 17.
Oh, I
do this every week.
I get it backwards every week, don't I?
That's why you confused me. I was like, "What do you mean nothing happened?" I thought there was some reveals on both sides of the spectrum.
I guess so. This episode is called Descent, and I feel like it could refer to both silos, but it was really, to me, like the really exciting part was Nox and the deep downers trying to descend back to where they're to the down deep. So that was so exciting, intense, I guess, is why it felt to me like it took up more time of the episode. Maybe it didn't. I didn't time it or whatever, but it felt
it was definitely pretty crazy.
Yeah. I think not everybody loved this episode, but I kind of liked it.
I haven't had a problem with any of the episodes.
Yeah. It's a good show. We like it, and of course, our show is going to maybe be a little slower in the middle, right? But no, I thought it was maybe, but I just felt like everything in it, like that comes since the judge's murder and everything that was going on in our original Silo was just really exciting and tense. And what was happening with Juliet was, it's tense that she's sick and Solo's not maybe telling her the truth, but it just seemed to not be like a ton going on over there,
Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious from the minute we meet Solo that there's some holes in his story.
Yeah, that's an old picture of him.
And real quick, I just want to say hello, Crom and Uncle Fletch. Fletch, wow, can't talk tonight.
Hi, Fletch. Hi, Siloholic. Fletch. Yeah, Solo gives me like some Victor vibes too, a little bit.
He gives me, I don't know what the vibe is. I'm looking at typical Steve Zahn vibes.
Yeah, I get it maybe because Solo also has been maybe alone since he was he could be lying, right? Or he clearly has been alone for a very long time. He's at least claiming to have maybe been alone since he was a child. And so that's a very Victory kind of vibe also. This guy who is really socially isolated and so there's that little bit of similarity there. maybe. Also, the unkempt hair and the kind of like angular face, maybe. I mean, he's not physically so much like Scott McCord, but like I'm getting that also. Also, he likes the vibe from Juliet and Solo. I like the lore we get from Juliet and Solo. I don't care if it's
I love the part when he says he's talking about the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet dying, and she's like, and Juliet's like, what are you talking about? He's like, the story, Romeo and Juliet, they die in the end. She's like, no, they don't. And he's like, they do in mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like that episode of Friends where Phoebe's mom always stopped the movies right before the bad stuff, like Old Yeller.
Yeah. Juliet didn't get the end where Romeo and Juliet die. Yeah. I mean, she's obviously never read it even, and Solo has read it probably. Juliet says they're not allowed to read books in her silo. Not her
solo. Yeah, it's a little.
And Fletcher's intrigued. I think we're all intrigued to see who Solo ends up being, if that's relevant to the plot. I have mentioned that I have read the books, but there was a few things they're doing differently. So I don't think there's going to be a huge departure from Solo storyline, but you never really know what they're going to do, right? I think it's going to be great to see that reveal. This episode mostly is about Juliet, like, kind of creeping around the silo trying to find a helmet, right? And as she goes through the silo, she's like discovering things about Solo's story that don't maybe add up, right? And she's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I forgot about the cut on her hand. I was like, why is she so sick? Did Solo poison?
Yeah, I forgot too. And I was just like, when she pulled up her sleeve, I was like, what the hell? And I was like, oh yeah.
Like, I guess that disgusting, filthy water that's been down there for 100 years, is not too clean. And I guess that's her hand got. But I was like, did she catch the flu in that water? Are there viruses in there? Like, I totally had forgotten. And then it was like horribly infected, and she just had to open it up and like wrap it back up, right? She wasn't able really to she didn't. I guess there's. I'm guessing that Solo will have to take care of her next week, but as part of this journey, she found all that stuff about Tiny and Solo, right? The real Solo.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a convenient coincidence that she just happened in the entire destroyed Solo. Silo. I can't say Solo and Silo. In the entire Silo, she stumbles onto the exact papers that like start to reveal clues to her, right?
Well, it's typical.
It's a show. We can't have her spend 20 years finding the clue. She can only take an episode finding the clue. So what I took from that, it appears that Solo has adopted somebody else's persona, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of weird? Like, why would he do that?
Maybe he idolized the real Solo, or I'm sure there's a reason behind it that we'll learn at some point.
Well, there is a reason behind it. I'm just asking if you have any theories.
Why? No, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is he admired the real Solo. That's the only thing I can really think that makes any sense.
Yeah. I think, and so I'm not saying anything from the book, of course.
Maybe the real Solo was a hero of some sort, and
maybe they were trapped. Maybe they were there together, and the real Solo.
Maybe
they were there together for a while, and the real Solo, passed away, maybe, and this guy, what's his name? I forget what his real name is. The real name is oh, come on, what was the real name in the show? In the episode last night. I just tried to Google Solo's real name, and of course it comes up Han Solo's real name, which is Han Solo. Yeah. I want to say, okay, you know the name that's coming to me is okay. Hang on, I just pulled it up because I want to say Corey Hart, and I know that's not his real name.
That is not it.
Corey Hart's saying sunglasses at light, right? Cole. His real name is
Cole
Myers, something like that.
Cole
right?
Miners, yes, Cole Miners. Which I think, which also sounds like a bullshit name.
Cole Myers, it kind of does.
Coal miner? I mean,
coal miner.
Exactly. When he said it, I thought he was saying what he did at first, and I didn't realize it. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Right? Here's a thought. All City says, could he be Solo's kid? Because we don't know how many years it's been. Those people outside the silo look like they've been dead for a pretty long time, right?
That's a good thought.
I mean,
because he's definitely, I think he's definitely that that story about the backpack, and she was like, wait, how are you next to, you know, like how are you there with her if she was a child?
Right.
So it could be that he is Solo's kid. That's a good thought.
That's a really good thought. I mean, because Steve Zahn is like mid 50s, late 50s in real life, right? I think. And those bodies look like they could have been dead like 40 or 50 years, right? I mean, I don't know. I've never really seen a 50-year-old dead body, so I don't really know what it would look like. I'm just kind of, those people weren't dead like for a short amount of time. They've been dead for a long amount of time. So that's an interesting idea. I think that's kind of a good theory, right? I mean, that's possible. And like Fletch is saying, I can't understand how people from the 17 silo managed to walk so many steps outside since they don't have a suit. I've noticed that also, right? Like there were bodies everywhere pretty far. And like even people who have a suit, like when we look out the screen from silo 18, you can see the dead bodies out there, right? They only get like yards away, and they die with a suit. Of course, it's a faulty suit, but it keeps them alive a little longer than no suit, right? So that's a good. I wondered about that also.
The only thing I can say about that with Silo 17 is, if you remember correctly in that flashback, everybody's kind of rushing out. So maybe because of their momentum and running,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was kind of, if you notice, it kind of piled up. Like it was like, there was like 2 or 3 bodies, and it kind of teardropped. It was like you had a point, and then it kind of widened out as it got closer back to the entrance. So I think some people made it kind of far because they were just running, and they,
held their breath.
I mean, everybody we've seen come out of 18 that have died were walking, and they were standing around, and they weren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that could explain it.
Yeah. Oh, and here All City has a good point that he might be in contact with the big bosses, wherever they are, and he's been pretending he's the real Solo. So that's why he adopted which that makes sense, right? Like
that's a possibility. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of possibilities.
The real Solo dies, and you have to pretend you're him so that you can continue to be in touch or whatever with them.
Oh, there's Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to do something important while I was doing this, and it was taking a lot longer than I expected. Apologies, but
that's okay.
Yeah, we were talking about Silo, and we're talking about the Juliet and Solo part of the show. Also, I mean, to that point about All City's point about whoever All City and Fletch's point about the bodies, like Fletch points out that there were bodies that were really kind of far from the door. Some people did get pretty far from the door.
Yeah, sorry, All City. I'm long story short, I'm trying to customize it for a Christmas present, and it's having issues.
Jamie.
Yeah. But anyway, what was I saying? So I was going to ask you guys what you thought of that, because so he's pretending to be this guy, but yes. I guess I don't quite understand why, unless he stole that suit. Maybe, I don't know. I was a little confused by some of that.
Well, a couple theories that we've been discussing, like, did he know did he really, was the real Solo a role model or someone he admired? All City posited that he could be the real Solo's son, because we don't really know how long ago. That's why we're talking about the dead bodies outside, how long they've been there and stuff. Like, we don't know when the rebellion occurred. in 17 and how long Solo has been there. And he does act like a person. He acts childlike, right? Mm-hmm. So could it be the real Solo's son? Or another theory that he's pretending, maybe the real Solo was the person in charge with the powers that be, the bosses of the silos, wherever, right? Yeah, like we think he might be in touch with them, and he's got to pretend to be Solo in order to, like, they think Solo's supposed to be there. I mean, maybe he killed the real Solo.
I don't know what made me wonder, and I guess what confused me more than anything is we had talked about like how his eyes are different. We had mentioned, but if you noticed in the picture of the original Solo, there was like something, I don't know, it was hard to tell, but something like messed up with his one eye. It looked like in the picture. So I didn't know if maybe that meant whatever it was he tried to do, or like you said, maybe he's his son and he's got something similar going on. I don't know.
Oh, you know,
it's so dark. It's hard to see a lot of anything detailed.
Yeah, it didn't really occur to me to look at the picture that closely and see. Yeah, it didn't really occur to me that I should. But you're right. This show is really dark, and you can't always like see what's going on. I don't know if we would have been able to see the color of his eyes.
I don't know, but there was something like on the painting or whatever one, because it wasn't really a photo. It looked more like a painting from what I could tell. It looked like there was something, I don't know, like something over his eye or something, or like, I'm doing a very bad job explaining it, but like there was something significant the way it was drawn.
You mean like in the photograph, it did look like someone had drawn on the photograph, right?
Yeah, it looked like either, I couldn't tell if it was a photograph or it was like a painting somebody made. It was hard to tell because, again, it's so dark. But it looked like he had like a scar or something like on the side of his face, the way it was, or like a shadow. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the picture. But it made me think about the conversation we had about his eyes and how they were different. And I don't know. It just seems significant that the guy's eyes in the picture were different too, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find a picture. Probably not.
I mean, probably Reddit has already discussed this for the last several days and like really.
Probably, but I haven't looked at anything, so I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, the real Solo is named the real Solo's real name is Cole, right?
Cole Miner.
Okay, wait. No. I found a picture. I found a picture.
Cole Myers.
Yeah. Let's see if I can upload it here. Let me try. And I'll show you. It is like a painting. It's not a I was right the first time I said it. It's a like a drawing of them. It's not really a photograph. And if you look, see how over his one eye there's like a scar or shadow or something going on?
Oh, yeah, I see that. It is a painting.
Yeah.
And he has like maybe a scar or a shadow on his. I don't know, that it's hard because it's a painting. It's hard to tell, right?
Yeah, no, since we had discussed him having two different eyes, that's why I right away noticed the whatever you want to say it is on his face.
Well, you can't tell from that if the eye color is different.
No, you can't tell the eye color is different. I'm just saying there was something different about his eye because it had that.
Yeah.
Like that.
So yeah. So I mean, any one of these could be possible. He could be. I'm liking the theory that he could be that our Solo could be the child of the real original Solo, but why wouldn't he say? I mean, if I think
part of it is his mind is not completely there after being alone for all this time.
Well, yeah, and that took us to the part where he just like loses his shit at Juliet, right? And he's like, don't say that. He's really upset with her for like having found this out. And he scares Juliet, which is interesting because Juliet's kind of hard to scare, right? But she's definitely very afraid of him, I think, in that shocked and afraid. Right? Like I was kind of like, yeah. Or, I like Allcity's comment when he raged. It really was a rage. When he raged, I didn't see it as like sadistic rage. I saw it as a trauma response.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Something he didn't like. That's why if he was like remembering, whoever this person was died, maybe he can't handle that. So he sort of became him.
Well, he could have killed him. Like maybe it's like he killed the real Solo and took on it, whether on purpose or by mistake.
It could be an accident.
And took on the person's identity as part of like dealing with it, and like for her to have found it's a lie he's told himself like forever, right? And for her to like confront his like identity like that maybe is what like that is traumatic.
Yeah. Lots of.
I mean, he could also be afraid, like I kind of feel like what is the point in lying to Juliet? Like, why would he not say who he is and tell the truth? I mean, I'm thinking of two reasons. One is because it isn't. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say maybe at this point he doesn't even know what the truth is because maybe he's been telling the lie for so long. He believes it himself.
Yeah.
And her confronting him with the picture and him seeing that it doesn't look like him kind of threw him.
Yeah. At first I was thinking he was like Juliet, maybe escaped another silo. Maybe he's a fugitive and he's hiding in that silo. Yeah, in which case, like, he doesn't know Juliet. He can't trust her. He might think she's a spy sent from another silo, right? And that, like, he can't trust her, or he doesn't know what she's gonna, like, she's determined to go back to her original silo. Like, what's she gonna tell them? I found some dude they're gonna be like, how did you live for all this time? And she's gonna have to, right?
Well, she wants to go back to tell them, don't go outside.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, but I mean, she's gonna have to say where she's been all this time. Right?
Well, yeah, of course.
She's been gone more than 5 minutes.
And she's a step closer. She found the helmet.
Right, and so maybe Solo. Oh my God, Solo. I could see he would be afraid of what she might say and what the reaction might be if somebody like Bernard found out that somebody was living in there. I mean, he like Bernard knows the secret of all the silos, of course, right? Like, I think Bernard knows that there are other silos.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Yeah, I definitely.
I'm sure he does.
Other silos.
And
he might be the only one. I don't think Sims knows. I think Bernard absolutely knows.
I think Bernard absolutely knows there were other silos. Maybe that there still are other silos, and I think Bernard's got a room like Solo has, right?
Bernard, wait, say that again. Bernard,
the room that Solo is holed up in.
Oh, yes. I definitely think they have that on their silo.
Yeah, he's in this room that has its own power supply and unlimited chicken dumplings and some other things going on in there and bowls. And I think Bernard's got a similar room that we just haven't seen yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, also maybe he was a child that lived in the underground levels of the silo and somehow he was the lone survivor. I mean, I definitely think that flashback that we saw in episode 1 of the rebels, and there was a child who was like a messenger, remember?
We know that kid definitely died.
Well, we think he died.
It was a red herring. Well, because but he was up front. Like I mean, it could be that they wanted us just to believe that, but there was clearly a woman and a child that Juliet sees on her way into the silo, and it's one of the bodies that's furthest away, and he was right up there with his dad, who was the farthest away. So
so we think that kid died. We can't.
But it could be a red herring. It could totally be intentional to fool us.
But he could have been. There were children in that silo. He could have been a different kid of the silo. This Fletch's comment here about maybe he killed the real Solo that was keeping the vault safe, and now that's his job to keep it safe. Because
he's Desmond.
I was just going to say that. That's where I was going with this. That he's Desmond and went in the hatch on Lost. And when Kelvin ran out of the hatch and was gone, Desmond had to stay there and take her the hatch and press that button to save her, to prevent any incidents from happening.
There we go. We got the answer.
And Desmond had a suit, and Desmond wasn't so straight up front about who he was either. Actually, then he was in his birthday suit after that, but when he was out in the woods. But I guess that was a jungle. But yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that he killed the real Solo that was keeping the vault safe, and he might have killed him by mistake. Like that graffiti on the wall that says "We're gonna get in there sooner or later" or something like that. You can kind of see it behind Juliet's head in one of these. We will get in, it says, or something like that, right? Like maybe they were like after the real Solo. Like maybe our Solo was part of that group of people that were trying to get Solo Prime to come out and didn't mean to kill him, but he got killed or something, right? I mean, there's definitely like
could explain the dead bodies could be people that Steve Zahn Solo was with.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of possibilities here. I'm sure one of them is right.
Yeah. I'm sure one is right. I also hope he isn't evil.
Yeah.
I think he's too messed up to be evil. Like he's just not like he can't. He has zero attention span. You need like a minimal attention span to be truly evil, right?
Yeah. If he is a bad guy of some sort, I don't think it's intentional. I think it's more of circumstance.
Tim, Fletch. Yeah. That kid in episode 1 was named Tim. That's right.
All right.
Tiny Tim.
We cover everything in Silo 17.
Yeah, because we don't really think there's any threat of Juliet dying, so we're not too worried about the infection she's got. So she can, she found her helmet, and we'll see what happens with that next week.
Her arm, was that what she got burnt from being outside, or did she hit it? I was trying to remember what she did.
She cut it when she was trying to climb out of the water. She cut it with
that's
metal.
Right. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, he's asking what we think about the water rising and he's running out of time. I kind of, in a way, want her to like help him first, but she's in such a rush. I understand why at the same time why she can't, but maybe she'll go tell her people and then come back and help him, or maybe she can somehow convince him to go with her. Maybe she'll find like a second suit or something.
I don't know. That was I like that they kind of gave this like. Oh wait, I went to the Tim comment.
Because it kind of sucks to be like, thanks for helping me. I'm going to leave you here to die.
Well, he doesn't want to leave, and there's no indication he's going to die. He's been living there alone for a really long time.
Well, but if he's only got 10 months before he's like submerged in water, he can't.
And how does he know that?
Because he's really, really smart. I don't know. I assumed that he figured out how long he had by the rate it was rising.
I assume that some computer inside the hatch told him that.
Or that could be it too.
I mean, he is kind of smart, not like Juliet about engineering, but he's kind of. I like that he kind of gave an explanation of how it happened, and he said, "Oh, when the rebellion happened, some idiots had the idea to like they turned off the pump because they wanted to flood out the down deep, right? Was that the explanation? They wanted to like flood out mechanical, and then they couldn't stop it, and so now it's slowly coming in." But if he's only got 10 months, does that mean the other silo only has 10 months? Like, is everybody's water? I mean, I guess there's a pump in silo 17 that's pumping it, right? And that's why their water hasn't risen.
Yeah, he's got to push the button so the water doesn't rise.
That's why I'm laughing at what Fletch said. He has to go back in to push the button. I assumed he wanted to go back into the vault just because he was having a panic attack, not because of anything.
He was having this moment. He's like, I think I left it unlocked. It was like when I have a freak out that, did I leave the stove on? But when I went out of the house, I mean, I don't really do that, but people do that.
Yeah.
Right?
I think he was just totally having a panic attack and was like scared that he couldn't get back in or that he did something wrong. And he's just like, I gotta go check it.
I felt like felt like someone would get in there if he didn't go back. Like it was unlocked, or maybe it wasn't unlocked, but he's like, I think I left it unlocked. I gotta go check it. And I wasn't sure, like, are you afraid someone's going to get in? Because who's going to get in?
That's what I mean. There's nobody there.
Fletch wants to know if we think all the silos are connected. I've been saying that since last season.
Well, and the mines must be connecting them, right? Like everybody. The purpose of the mines is to mine iron that they smelt into somewhere. I don't know where like steel plants are. Like I don't know how much space they have to smelt down the iron ore to make metal, and I mean they're not making steel, but whatever they're making, right? But I mean it's got to be vast and huge, this mining area, and every silo would need metal, and it's got to be a common mine, right? And maybe like you go down. One reason why it's so brutal and you definitely die down there is because nobody can ever come back, because they might tell the truth that like you get down there like, holy shit, there's people from like tons of silos in the mines here with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Like, but they're definitely connected, and if not just by the mines, but by like secret tunnels. Like if you could go through those
secret tunnel. Sorry.
I mean, George had said there's a door under the water, right? And if you could get to that door, what would you find? I mean, you're going to find the secret tunnels. Probably, right? This reminds me, in college, my university has like all these like secret tunnels. They're not really secret tunnels. They're tunnels where all the pipes go, like the heating pipes and everything go from building to building in these tunnels. And like we were always trying to find the secret entry, drink a bunch of beer, and then be like, let's go tunneling. Let's go find the entrance and go tunneling.
All right. We should really move over to Silo 18 though.
Okay. All right. Let's go over to Silo 18 because so much happened over there in Silo 18 with I mean, I don't know, like I guess we'll just start with like poor old Knox and company who are trying to make their way down the side. Like this was so exciting to me. And
you know what's funny? Never thought I'd be rooting for Knox.
Really? I never disliked Knox. I mean, he's a bit.
He was always such a jerk, and then he threw Juliet under the bus.
I mean, he kind of wasn't wrong. He was being a boss and a leader of.
He was wrong when he threw Juliet under the bus. Because the same shit just happened to him in this episode when that guy called Judicial to tell them where they were.
Yeah. So I feel like when he turned Juliet in, he was being a manager of his people, but he wasn't being a leader, right? Like he was like he did what he had to do, but he wasn't yet like a rebellious leader yet. Like he's taken another step now with what's going on. But between Knox and Shirley and Carla and Walker trying to make their way down, it was really very exciting, I thought. When they were trying to get down the staircase, and
I loved her. She's like, let's separate because you've been down there so long, nobody knows what you look like anymore.
Yes, that was brilliant, right? It was a little sad because they just like found each other again. They're in love or whatever, right? But it was kind of sad that, well, they've all been caught now. By the end of the episode, they're all captured, right?
No,
these two Carla gets captured, but Shirley and Knox, like I loved it. Their whole plan to get away, and it worked, right?
Yeah, they got through. What do you think? Sims's wife. What's the plan there? Why did she help them?
Oh, because she helped them because she doesn't want her husband to be. She wanted to show that Sims is the only one who can catch them, and he shouldn't be the judge. He should be the shadow in judicial. She's trying to foil the capture so that Sims will be her husband will be the only person who can capture them and get back in with Bernard. Right? That's what I think was going on there.
That's a good, interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that.
Fletch, All City. Do you guys think that's what she was up to, Jamie?
That's a good call.
I get a real Lady Macbeth thing from her. Right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if I don't know. Like, I feel like she's trying in a way to do it in order to screw that other guy up so he'll mess up and her husband will be made the shadow. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I kind of sometimes wonder if she's trying to usurp her husband.
No, I don't think she's trying to usurp her husband, but she definitely doesn't like Bernard.
Right.
She's not trying to usurp her husband. She's trying to catapult her husband to the top, I think.
I think if she screws up that other guy and makes him fail, then Bernard? She maybe thinks that Bernard will make her husband his shadow since the other guy failed, maybe.
The guy that was in charge of that guy that was in charge of capturing.
The new one that he made the shadow.
Well, I don't know if he made him his shadow yet.
Well, whatever he made him, that he promoted.
He just promoted him to the boss of like the Secret Service or whatever.
Well, if he fails and he has no one else for the job, maybe she thinks he'll like reconsider her husband.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she said something like, if Bernard is successful, he gets stronger. Yeah, she wants to. I mean, so
she's trying to undermine Bernard, basically.
I agree. She wants to stick it to Bernard, but all in service of advancing Robert, her husband. Like, I don't think she's out to get Bernard. I mean, she definitely she left judicial and there's something going on there. But I think it's just not like, I hate Bernard, let me take him down. I feel like it's definitely in service to promoting her husband also. Like, they want to take over, right? They want to be the next mayor and Mrs. Mayor.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I think. I definitely. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic with Sims and Bernard because while they're on the same side, they're not on the same page. And I think Bernard making Sims the judge is gonna backfire big time for Bernard. It's also gonna make things a lot more difficult for everybody else in the silo with him as the judge, because that's just not gonna end well.
So, I mean, I agree. I think he made Sims the judge to get him out of the way and put him in a corner there. But I also think maybe he thought Sims would take it, or I don't know if Bernard has realized how much Mrs. Sims is really the person he's got to look out for. I think he might know now, right? Like, now, as also says, now Bernard knows it isn't like she can keep it a secret. It's out. Like, she went out openly to talk to the Raiders and hid those guys, and Bernard knows it now. Fletch says she won't be alive for much time. She might not last the season, right? But if Bernard kills her, okay, first of all, she should not eat or drink anything that Bernard presents to her ever again.
No one should eat or drink anything that Bernard presents to them.
But I mean, Sims would become a much more less dangerous and more dangerous at the same time without her, right? Oh yeah, Bernard is the Littlefinger of the show.
I don't agree with that. I don't think he's in Littlefinger's league. Bernard's shifty, but I don't think he's Littlefinger. Littlefinger would take him down in 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, well, and Littlefinger is was always planning years and years ahead of everyone else, right? But he is he is the guy that is playing chess. Bernard is playing chess on a different level from everybody else.
Yeah.
He's a little different from someone like a Littlefinger because, I keep saying that I think Bernard is he's a guy who has a literal reading of the Pact and the Order, and he's like a fundamentalist religious person to me, who reads that book and goes by the letter of that book, and is afraid to deviate from it, and has a limited vision, vision thing,
Yeah. I did love though. I just want to say though, I did love though when he was to Sims, he's like, I know you did it, but I got to keep you here because you're too whatever he says, something like, it can't completely sideline you, so I'm gonna make you the judge. I like that scene
because he's too useful, right?
Yeah.
He's
you know what they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Chef Bernard at your service. Yeah, he's really he's got these two. It's interesting how Mrs. Sims suddenly became this formidable character this season, and what's going to happen to her. She's I think we all agree these two she's good, but these two cannot take Bernard. Bernard is just...
No, I don't think they can either.
I don't think they can, although Bernard is a little Bernard's a little I don't know. His devotion to this book could be his downfall.
Not for nothing. I mean, Sims could be take a page out of Bernard's book and be like, you know what? I think Mechanical killed the mayor too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mechanical's to blame for everything, right?
Yeah. Okay, he's Otto Hightower. Yeah. There's so many people in Game of Thrones that he can be compared to. Anyway, that was all really interesting to me. And Bernard's got he's got time to have this whole other thing going on with Lucas, right? Where he brings him back up, or I guess he hasn't had time to go back to the mines yet. And he's like, oh, guess what? Why don't you stay here and work on my hard drive for me? I was surprised that moved so quickly, but I forget that this is a short season. Like within the space of one episode, Bernard's like, here's this hard drive. I need you to look at it. Otherwise, you're going back to the mines. And as long as you are useful to me, basically, I'm not sending you down there. I love this speech here where he's like, you know why we send people there? You're going to die. But, that whole thing about you want to live longer, then stay here and do this job for me.
I'm surprised he didn't say, if I do this, can I stay out of the mines permanently? Like he didn't make a deal.
Well,
He's just like, you get one more day.
Say that. You know why? He can take his sweet ass time putting that hard drive back together.
Why did he solve it in one day? Why did he on the first day say, I've got it?
That's what I'm saying. He could have.
Yeah. He's got this chance, and he moves so quickly. And the book, I always forget that guy's name. The guy's name is Salvador or Santiago. What's the guy's name? I can't remember anybody's name on any show. Ever since I got a concussion years ago, I have no memory. I'm telling you, it's from falling off that horse. The guy who wrote the letter, I always forget his name.
I don't know. My memory's gotten worse as I got older. I want to say it's Salvador. It is maybe Salvador.
Salvador Quinn. It's Salvador
Quinn.
Yeah.
So he immediately is like, oh, guess what? I found all this stuff, and I found this letter from Salvador Quinn, and it's written in code. And I'm like, what? What are you doing, Lucas? Come on. Could you take he didn't even get to change his clothes yet, and he saw.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning. Like, if he does it too fast, he might still send him back down to the mines. He should have made a deal with them, I think.
Yeah.
Although not that Bernard would have to keep the deal anyway. I mean, let's be honest. He could make a deal and then screw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I thought maybe he should have taken a little bit longer, but we can't we have a TV show and people can't just, drag it out because the audience will be.
I'm glad he fixed it though, because I'm curious to know what's on that hard drive that we didn't think was a big deal that Bernard's going to be like, oh shit, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nursery and Lucas is dead after. Yeah, I agree.
Now you can't kill Lucas yet. He might need him for some other kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
He's got to keep Lucas on a short leash.
That maybe he makes him his shadow. He could, because he could trust Lucas, because Lucas just doesn't want to go back to being in the mine. So he would do what he said, maybe.
Well, but I would argue, Jamie, that that's not real trust, and you couldn't really trust that person. Like that's fear, right? And
fear is a powerful thing.
Yes, you could trust him not to maybe openly oppose you, but you couldn't trust. Like the point of a shadow is to learn your whole job and take it over for you when you die.
Okay, that's
right, and that is not a thing that you want to just basically enslave someone to be doing.
Now Fletch is asking: is Salvador Quinn the one that didn't clean on the other silo?
No, Salvador Quinn is one of the guys who. He's been dead for 100 years, right?
Salvador he was Quinn. In the conversation that the mayor had, but I'm struggling to remember what it was too. Who is he?
Yeah, Salvador Quinn he's a guy who is in the pact. He is one of the people I think that wrote the pact. Or that was part of the pact. Salvador Quinn was the head of IT. Salvador Quinn was the first head of IT when the silo opened. So that letter that he wrote to his wife is a century-old letter, and probably contains secrets of the pact and the founders. Okay. I don't know. I'm not saying anything from the book, but from what we've seen on the screen, we don't know what he wrote in the letter. But the letter.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at what Fletcher said next.
The letter was written at a time by a person who would have knowledge of like what happened before and why they went down there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely got something in that's, I mean, it's in code. It's got to be something important.
It was a letter to his wife, right? And went to code. So the next thing is for Lucas to crack the code, and being an idiot, he'll probably do that in an hour also, right? Like no one is the guy who minds.
Keep it to yourself.
He's a genius, but he's not crafty. So Solo mentioned Salvador Quinn. He might have mentioned Salvador Quinn, but Salvador Quinn could be on every copy of the Pact. Like if he's one of the founders, then every silo would have heard of Salvador Quinn, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he's actually one of the founders, but he's from the time of the founders and is one of the people. I think he might be. I think I might compare him to like a signer of the Declaration of Independence that everybody knows their names years later, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. That makes sense.
So that would be why Solo also, and Solo might know more, right? It seems like his
maybe he found the same. Maybe that's like in like you said, in every silo. Maybe Solo already cracked the code. Maybe he had the same information, and he.
Yeah. I mean, All City has a good point. Bernard's going to have to kill Lucas. No way he lets him walk away with the knowledge, right?
Yeah, but you kill Lucas, and 5 minutes later, you need something else fixed that only Lucas can fix. I think he keeps him on a short leash.
Maybe he'll use him to go after Sims. Like maybe he'll.
I mean,
he's gonna be useless against Sims.
No, I know. I'm just like I was thinking of how like Sims, how he got the guy to throw the bomb or whatever. I could see Bernard having him do something against Sims that would either take him down or undermine him or something. I don't know.
So you can't send Lucas. You can't send him back to the mines because he might kill everybody, and then you'd get a rebellion in the mines, right? Like you can't. You got to keep him under your thumb. I think, Jamie, you have a good point. Bernard's way of like when he got George to throw the firebomb, it was by having something he wanted. Like Bernard is so good. Like Bernard doesn't really operate by fear of like Sims is like a hammer, and Bernard is more like Sims is more of a blunt instrument using force, whereas Bernard is like, I have something you want, or
I have something you don't want, one or the other.
He knew exactly how to get George. He knew George's weak point. He knew how sad he was, how much he missed his wife, and he's like, George was like, it reminded me of the guy in the Matrix, Cypher in the Matrix, who makes a deal with Smith, right?
Yeah, to become ignorant again.
Yeah, he's like, I want to go back. I don't want to remember anything.
I don't want to be rich.
Right? Like that's what he did with George a little bit. Lucas, it's a little bit more like you don't want the one thing you want most is not to die. So I can make you not die. I can allow you to live another day.
Yeah.
Which is like a tremendous motivator for anyone. But yeah, Lucas is dead. I don't really know how Lucas could get out of this season the way things are going. And I've read the books, but Bernard is a little bit of a different villain. Ooh, what's that?
Sorry, my phone's making noise.
Bernard's villainy is a little bit different in the show than it is in the book. I skipped over Fletch's question earlier about can anyone take Bernard? Like legit asking someone who's read the books, is there anyone who could take Bernard? I don't know if they're going to do it, if he will end in the book, if this will be the same as the book. But, I mean, Bernard is Bernard has no friends and no one he can really trust. Right? I mean, I think there's any number of people right now that we could, look, if I'm writing a TV show, then I want it to be Juliet who gets him in the end, right? I'm not saying that's what
yeah, definitely.
Doesn't. But if this was a run-of-the-mill TV show, it's Juliet who gets to be the one to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Sims. You can't trust that, Mrs. Sims, Lady Macbeth, right? You can't trust any of them.
No.
It
reminds me.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, if anything, is going to happen with Juliet's dad? Now that he basically told Bernard, he's like, listen, he's like, my profession is a sham. He's like, I know what you're up to. I'm not, he's like, I have nothing to lose. So
yeah,
come at me.
I deleted his picture. But that was kind of great, right? He's maybe the only character we've seen so far that Bernard really can't control.
Yeah, because he's like, I have nothing to lose.
I have nothing to lose, and there's nothing he wants.
Yeah, I enjoyed that conversation. He's going to be pissed when he finds out he removed the thing.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if he'll find that out.
Well, when she gets pregnant, he'll find it out really quickly.
But, compared to everything else that's going on, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not super.
I don't think Bernard is able to monitor the fertility of every woman in the 10,000 person silo who won't even have that baby for 9 more months. Like, they could all, like, right? Like, she won't even have that baby.
I guess, but isn't, like, somebody having a baby, like, a big thing, though?
Yeah, but she's not even have a bump for like 4 more months. He just took out
that's a good point. Last week. That's true.
She has 12 months after they take out your birth control, you have 12 months to get pregnant. Like, despite what we see on TV, you don't always get pregnant.
You mean it doesn't happen like TV?
Yeah, where you have sex once and get pregnant. I watched 2 shows today where that happened. 2 people got pregnant like on the first time having sex. And AJ, because it's TV, they had their bra on both times.
Of course they did.
But that's not, I don't think that I read that as a small act of defiance that yes, could pay off later, but I don't think we're going to get to that. But I love that sort of monologue where he says, the silo has taken my son, my wife, and my daughter, and now like my profession is and I didn't do it for the silo. I did it for my own self-respect. It was kind of great. We've been waiting for that like Ian Glenn moment, right?
Yeah, I like that monologue.
Yeah. Yeah, Julius Dad better not eat any mushrooms.
Yeah. No more mushrooms. I was gonna say, and Papa Socks, to answer you, we're talking about Silo right now. This is this week's current episode, and then we're gonna go on to Dune.
Oh yeah, Papa Socks. I hope you're watching Silo. It's really very good. And we all, we're all enjoying it. And I want to go back to a couple of these great comments that we have here that are a little bit all over the, like, back and forth. I do want to hit them all. But yeah, that was great. He might not, I don't know if Dr. Nichols is going to, how long Dr. Nichols is going to last, right? But he could become like a heroic, like, yes, he probably will die. It might be in some heroic act of sacrifice, right?
I hope he finds out she's alive first before he does, though.
Yeah, that would be.
I just saw right. Fletcher's knowledge comes with a cost.
Well, yeah, it does. So there was also some really good stuff going on with Billings, I think. In this episode, right?
Yeah, Billings and Hank make a good team.
They do. You see Hank in the background there. He's kind of blurred out, but Billings is starting to stand up. Like Billings was, like last season, Billings got the job because Bernard thought he was sort of like just a good little soldier who'd play along.
Yeah,
right?
he thought he was gonna be a team player.
Yeah, I thought he'd be a team player. It's funny, like. He's, I talked earlier about Bernard, how I feel like
Why is this volume not going down? I'm sorry. My phone keeps dinging and I'm trying to turn the volume down. And
you put it on silent.
Down.
Give us your undivided attention. Actually, mine is the only person who'd be. Sometimes I text you during the show, so don't turn it off.
No, I'm trying to fix an order that's for a Christmas present. That's why I'm kind of like having to.
Anyway,
I talk about Bernard being like so devoted to this book, to the pact, and to the order, and not able to and yet Billings is the guy who can recite it. Like he can like recite the pact. He really knows the pact. He's really devoted to the pact, but he really understands sort of the spirit and the purpose of it better, right? Like he's more interested in justice. I
like that he's kind of going over to the other side.
I think if Billings opened the order and saw where it said, okay, blame everything on mechanical and like do a bunch of horrible shit to those guys to unite the next to the silo, I feel like Billings would be like, what? We can't do that. That's not right. He has such a better sense of.
The difference is to put it kind of in a perspective, is Billings knows his Bible, but he doesn't preach it. Whereas Bernard, all he does is preach and say things to, and he conforms everything to how he wants it to mean, not what it actually means.
Yeah. Like, if you were going to read this show as a criticism of like organized religion, which I'm not saying that that's what I really think.
No, I wasn't saying that, but that's kind of what the you know, in that aspect, the way they treat the.
Yeah. But yeah, Bernard is a guy that goes by the letter but doesn't really get it. And actually, it reminds me of this this movie I saw recently, a biopic of this German pastor named Bonhoeffer. It's a true story, but in the movie he says a thing about like faith. He believes in faith without religion, and I like Bernard is religion and Billings is faith, kind of.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope Billings makes it out alive. He's going to piss off Bernard. Yeah. Billings' only saving grace right now is that Bernard underestimates him.
Well, I think a big thing is when you figure things out, don't tell anyone until you're done with your investigation and can put it out in front of everybody so that you protect yourself. Too many people I see all the time, not just this show, they confront the bad guy and it doesn't end well for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Billings puts the whole puzzle together and then, you know, has his own little monologue, there's nothing that Bernard can do to him. But
that's why Billings needs to think about his family. And his wife kind of came to the attention, right? Like, I mean, she came to Nichols' attention this week, out there helping people who were injured in the like crazy riot on the stairs. And she, like, I kind of forgot about her. I kind of forgot that he had a wife and a baby until like suddenly like Ian Glenn is like, oh, you have a woman wearing a baby is not usually out here helping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billings is I mean, that's another thing. Bernard, like we talk about Bernard always knowing where you're vulnerable. Well, that's where Billings is vulnerable, through his wife and child, right?
Yeah.
So, God, I feel like Bernard could like kill anyone, or have you sent to the mines. Like, he's really an expert at. It's a totally fixed system, right? Like you can't get a fair trial. You can't get a fair anything. The raiders, the police, like, look at Juliet. She never said she wanted to go out. They just trumped it up. Like, although I don't think Bernard could send anyone else out to clean right now. Like, if he sent Billings out to clean, or Hank, or anyone, like shit would go south, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, there's a couple of good comments I just want to go back and hit real quick, right? Because Fletch is so observant. The tattoo, so the mechanical lady that's always with Knox, her name is Shirley. And he's referring to Shirley's tattoo, which we can't see. Now, Juliet's tattoos were very prominent this week also, because Juliet was like looking at her hands a lot, and her hands were in the screen, and we could see that her fingers are tattooed also. So that's interesting. Could that be code? Like, that's a cultural thing they do in the Down Deep, right? But could it be code and they don't even know it?
Yeah, maybe. That would be interesting.
Right? That would be kind of interesting. Fletch still believes there's an emergency elevator somewhere, even if it's only for the Bernards of this life. All those stairs are no elevator. Well, so could Solo's secret hatch, which I believe Bernard also has a secret hatch somewhere, could that have Could that have an elevator? Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, those stairs and not a single elevator. I mean, I get it. I get why they do it. Like, it prevents people from getting to know each other. Like, it prevents community, and it prevents anybody from moving quickly, and for news from traveling and things like that, right? But there's got to be an elevator, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would make sense they had an elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's possible. There could be one. I'm going to answer your question, Fletch. Yes, the books ended completely. Hugh Howey wrote these books a long time ago. They're quite short. I consider them more like novellas. And the trilogy was written. I read them at least 10 years ago, I think. And the trilogy was complete. And so we're not waiting for George R.R. Martin to finish it. So you should be able to.
Speaking of, did you see his most recent interview?
No.
He said he's pretty much given up. He's like, yeah, I'll probably never finish it.
Really? He said that?
He said that.
Oh man.
I gave up years ago.
I know. Could Juliet's recent infection be connected to the reason the silo is being created in the first place? It's a stretch, but I mean, it's believable that so like rampant disease could be the reason, except when Juliet goes outside, it looks like either a climate disaster or a nuclear disaster, probably a climate disaster, right? Like, maybe they die from radiation. Maybe it's post-nuclear and there's radiation. Maybe it's climate, but
definitely something in the air. We know that. Oh, and yeah, big cities makes a point. I forgot we didn't mention that, or did you guys mention that and I missed it?
We didn't mention it.
No, we have not mentioned it.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. So it's 3 books that are pretty short. And I think 4, these are like 10 episode seasons. They're not that long, right? So I think 4 is the perfect amount to finish it.
Yeah.
I think 4 is the perfect amount. So yeah, I guess we covered pretty much all of it. I'm looking if I have any like interesting, cool other pictures that I put in there this week. But I don't. So I guess we'll just wait and see. Very exciting stuff this week, huh?
Yes.
It's always good, and it just looks so good. Oh yeah, could the silos be made due to the sun's radiation? Yeah, so like that whole like hole in the ozone layer thing. And at the time Hugh Howey wrote these,
it was probably with global warming and everything else.
Yeah.
It was high.
I'm googling it right now. It was he self-published these in Silo series. Let's see. Silo is a dystopian. Blah blah blah. The series started in 2011. And if you want to read them, the book is not called Silo. The first book is called Wool. It's Wool, Shift, and Dust. None of the books is called Silo. So
yeah, wool is because they use the wool to wipe off the camera, don't they?
Yeah. But it began in 2011. So at the time he wrote it, like we were having a different conversation about like the planet that we live on and what might happen to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the sun's radiation would also be a reason why you need a suit to go out there and can't breathe and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good point. They had to have time to create all those massive silos. It's not like they were like, it's like one of these movies where like, what's that movie? I think it's called 2012, where there's a giant asteroid coming to Earth, but they have time to build all these big arcs. Or like Snowpiercer, where they had time to build a train that would go around the world ad infinitum, right? Like
I like 2012. That was a cool movie.
Yeah, true. But yeah, they had to definitely have time to make the silos and get down there. So they knew it was coming. I hadn't even thought about that.
I mean, I don't think reading the books would ruin the TV show, Fletch, but I read them a long time. I read them 10 years ago when they came out, and I haven't reread them, right? It will ruin for you what happens to certain characters, whether they live or die. And
if they follow it, you say that like they might not follow it.
Yeah. So one of the things that's different in the book is the show, like the book, it was clear upfront who Bernard is and what he's about. They did not play coy like the show did and left some quest, like through season 1, you're like, what's up with Bernard? Is it, like that was pretty, like that's one thing that's a change from the books. Not a huge major change. It's not like, in the book he dies on page 1 and now it's not like that level, but the books are short. So I mean it would ruin for you when certain who lives, who dies, how they live and die, that kind of stuff. So that I can't. That's why I can never recommend watching them, because I can't recommend reading them because it'll be a spoiler. But it's up to you. You do have a 2-year wait probably. So yeah, maybe you could read them and forget by then. So, all right, it was great this week, but let's go. Let's all everybody take your acid right now, so we can get ready to talk about Dune. Although it was a little bit less there was some crazy shit, but not as bad as last week.
Yeah, Dune was a lot less what the fuck this week. A little more straightforward is probably not the right word, but I wasn't going, what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, a huge bomb dropped at the end.
We had a huge bomb. You want to go straight to the bomb, or you want to talk
about?
No,
I just saying there was a bomb at the end.
Yeah,
which was a great twist, but
that was a great twist. And it took us, along. I mean, this was the second to last episode, so it's the appropriate time to drop a bomb, I think, at the second to last episode. It's kind of interesting to me, you guys. Like, I feel like Valia, who I thought was the main character, it has been kind of sidelined and not really done a lot. This week she didn't really do anything except send a message to her sister, right? And last week she's being like, her plans are being thwarted and not really going where she wants. She's kind of ineffective these last couple. It kind of surprises me. I just assumed that she was going to be the main person of the whole show. And I guess there's too many characters for anybody to be the main person, but it has kind of surprised me a little bit that she's not, been around that much, right? She was in this episode a little bit, but really, this is becoming like Tula's show, I think, right? Or Tula's season. I mean, if it gets renewed, maybe this is Tula's season, and maybe next season something else happens. What'd you guys think of this episode? Except for the big reveal. How'd you guys like this episode?
I thought it was really interesting. I mean, we complained when the season started, it was very slow, but these last 2 episodes have really picked up.
Yeah.
And things are actually happening now. And, aside from the action, even the conversations have been better these past couple weeks. We're kind of fleshing things out a little bit more. It's funny, the sisters, you never really think about the fact that, before they became sisters, they had lives and maybe they had children, and apparently they have sex while they're sisters and have children with emperors. There you go. Perfect. You know where I was going with it.
That was some crazy. I did not see any of that coming, for sure.
Yeah, right? I did not either.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't until once as soon as they said that he was from the 2 families. I'm like, oh wait.
No, you're jumping. No, she's
You mean Constance? She's Constantine's.
She's Constantine's mom.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the picture when I said it.
Yeah. No, I did not see that.
No, I didn't see her coming either. I mean, we knew he wasn't her his legitimate son, but
right. That's why he's
not. It's his legitimate son, but he's a bastard.
Well, that's what illegitimate means. Like, when
illegitimate, the way she said it, I thought she meant that it wasn't his son.
Oh no!
No, I meant genetically, it isn't his son.
Yeah, no, I misunderstood the way it sounded to me.
I mean, it's his.
Wait, genetically, it isn't her son. Not. I said that backwards, didn't I?
She was like, no, they had a child together. Jessica and Havco had a child together, but
when it's her son, it's not his son. It's not.
It's her son. Wife,
it's not his wife's son.
I said it backwards. That's my fault.
Yes. What makes if your parents aren't married, that makes you illegitimate in certain. That's
but Jamie. Jamie meant what I thought.
I meant it's the queen's illegitimate son, is what I should have said.
No, it's not the queen's illegitimate son. It's Havco's illegitimate son.
Oh God.
Anyway, it's not their. She's the mother. It's not the queen's son, real son. Is what I meant. I'm saying it wrong, but that's what I
understood what she meant.
That's been clear from the jump. We always knew.
Yes, that was what I meant when I said that.
We always knew that Havoko had a child with another woman. I just can't believe that it's a sister. It never occurred to me that it would be a sister. Yeah. And he appears to really so this is my favorite picture in the whole press dump because she's like such the woman score. Like as soon, look at the stink face she has. As soon as she sees Francesca get off the ship, right? Like she's like, oh, the concubine is here again. And it really like, I feel like it really turns her character and forces that decision she makes at the end where, you know, at the end she's like, oh, now I'm in cahoots with Desmond Hart. And I think that she, I mean, it's not like Havoko like keeps her around. It's not like she's this concubine that lives in the palace or whatever. Like she hasn't been around for a long time. She just shows up. But so do you guys
he obviously still has feelings with her, which I didn't expect either.
Right. And now I have to assume that Valia told her to seduce him. That's why she was sent there. Right. Like,
probably
like whenever it happened, however old Constantine is, in his 20s, some odd years ago, Francesca, like, I feel like Valia's always playing the long game, and she probably told her to seduce him and have a child by him, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I don't think that, I don't think that, I'm sorry, I'm getting so distracted. Billie Jean is not my lover. I don't think that these sisters really do anything that's not part of Valia's, like, 10,000-year plan, right? And she tells him, like, eventually.
The thing is, Valia doesn't know it's a 10,000-year plan.
No, she thinks it's like a 100-year plan, maybe, right? But Francesca tells Constantine, he's like, why was I born? And she's like, oh, because I love you. And he's like, no, come on, Mom, why was I born? And she says, like, you were born to protect your sister. Right? Isn't that what she says to him? Like, you were born.
Even from the ones that they think love her or something to that effect.
Which was like this huge, like, foreshadows whatever happens for the rest of the episode, right? Where, like, well, we can talk about Michaela in a minute, but where he gets busted, he busts him, right?
How did he know, though? Did I miss something?
I agree. I don't know. And you know what? All City, if you're watching, Fletch, if you're watching, you can tell us how he knew, because he just seems to suddenly know. I mean, he knows that Kieran is sleeping with his sister, right? But how does he know that he's a rebel?
Yeah, that's what I missed.
No, wait. Ask that. How does
Constantine know that Kieran Atreides is with the rebels?
Because he found that stuff in his locker. Remember, he took it out. I don't know if it was a locker, whatever it was. He took out that hologram thing and turned it on. At least that's what I took out of it. That was
all right. Then that's possible because I definitely missed something.
Yeah, whatever that thing was, that hologram that was like a scan of the castle or whatever. I figured it was like blueprints to the castle.
Oh, he found.
Oh, right.
We mean I picked up something you guys.
Wow,
did?
you know, I totally saw that scene and it didn't even put two and two together.
Yeah, I figured it meant because he was casing the castle, so like he knew that.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I didn't even put it together far enough to realize.
Yeah, that's
the grand scheme of things.
And then he gets arrested. And it surprised me a little because, you know, I guess because his name is Atreides, it was a little bit of a red herring that I thought that Kieran was going to be maybe more of a, I mean, look, just because he's arrested doesn't mean he's not going to be around for next season.
Well, especially since, oh crap, what's the daughter's name?
Inez.
Especially since I feel like she's going to free him. Because she does the old witchy trick and talks to him. And I feel like, you know, she cares for her father. She doesn't like her mother very much. She likes her father, and she did like Constantine. But I feel like she feels like that shit is wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And she even asks him, you know, do you really feel this rebellion is what's best for everybody? And he's like, yes. And she, you know, and you see the look on her face, like, all right, maybe it is.
Well, yeah, and she wants to go and become. It surprised me that she used truth saying because she has not yet gone to study, and so I didn't think that she could.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, but that was a cool scene. She was able to do that.
Like she's already been learning how to do. Maybe Kasha was teaching her.
Well, she was training under Kasha before she went.
Yeah.
How does she have?
Just,
yeah, I was going to say that's how she has the power.
I just didn't realize she was that advanced.
Well, and she's like pissed at her parents for not letting her go. Now she's gonna be really mad at Constantine for like having her lover arrested. And he can say that it's because he's protecting her, and Francesca like told him his role was to protect his sister, but really Valia wanted him elevated to like to captain the fleet, be the head of the fleet, because she wants someone she can trust in that role, right? To undermine Haviko.
Well, someone that she can manipulate.
Does anyone believe that Constantine is capable of commanding the fleet? Has he ever done anything? Has he ever done anything ever?
But that's exactly the whole point. That's why Valia wanted him. Because now she's going to control that whole situation. That's her goal.
Yeah, and like he'll be away from his father, and his sister and Francesca maybe can control him a little bit. But there's no way that he has any capability of being in charge of the fleet. It's ludicrous. It's laughable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, presumably he's like got an education or whatever, but yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. So can I talk about, as a part of this, we saw Michaela was revealed to be a sister also.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming either.
No.
I thought do you have a picture up? Sorry, I don't have the screen.
Yeah, I have a picture.
Yeah,
of
I thought that was okay. I guess I misunderstood that because I thought that was a given from the beginning when she was talking to Valia.
From the beginning of this episode. Or the beginning of the show.
No, when she was talking to Valia before, when they were planning the whole thing, I assumed she was a sister. I mean, I guess that was an assumption, but
it was a good assumption.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to assume that. Sorry.
I mean, that's how Valia found out about the whole plan and set in motion what she was going to do with the Landsrod to get.
Yeah, but I didn't think she was a sister just because she was talking to her because she's Fremen.
I never thought a Fremen would be a sister, right? Like that's what blew me away.
Some of that.
Yeah, not for 10,000 years.
Enough about this show to get, so I just assumed she was.
Yeah, I would not think a Fremen would be a sister, because she's from the Fremen. She's got the blue eyes. She's from the planet Arrakis, right? She's not. Yeah, that was really surprising. And then she's sort of like, so I'm not sure she's a sister by the end. Like she's pretty pissed by the end of it at Valia, right? And she's like, I'm going back to. Valia's like, go back to the safe house on Arrakis. And Michaela says, if I have to choose between the Sisterhood and Arrakis, I'm choosing Arrakis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if it goes anywhere, where that goes. But that was a big reveal also, right? I mean, not as big as like this reveal. Where finally the blood sample gets to Tula, and it's revealed that Desmond Hart is the child of Tula and
the Atreides guy,
Ori Atreides, who she killed.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
Is Ori. Should we have seen that coming? Did anyone see that coming? I don't know.
No, I mean, as soon as they said he was both species, both families, I figured out. But I think that was you were supposed to at that point. So
as soon as he's both Atreides and Harkonnen.
Yeah. I mean, the minute he said he is Atreides and Harkness, and I went, oh shit, it's her son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And it would maybe explain also why, like, he's got these powers that run deep. Although the powers are supposedly still, I mean, the story is the powers were acquired when he survived a sandworm attack, right? But maybe they've always been in him. Like Valia had the voice since she was a kid, right?
And I think that's why the voice doesn't work against him, because that's his auntie.
He's her nephew.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And he's probably got it also. Yeah, that was huge. That was a huge, huge reveal. I mean, we also had all this. It kind of overshadows this other part of the Tula part of the story, which is getting weirder and weirder, right? Like.
Oh yeah, when Mother Superior, when she like is hanging out in. God, I always forget that girl's name.
Sister Jen? Or
No.
Lila?
Lila. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother Superior is hanging out in her body.
Oh, Raquella, Mother Raquella is like inside her
Raquella.
body, right? And she's like, "Oh, let me like do a bunch of research." While like apparently she was also a genius scientist, and can like figure all this like shit out in the lab, which was a little. I mean, I guess I'm down with the part of the story where like when Lila was all out of it, because all of her she was in the agony, and all of her ancestors still fighting for control of the body. And so Raquella does get control. I didn't really get the part where Tula was like, "Oh, Jen, you're the one who doesn't have the vision. You didn't have the nightmare. So why don't you're the one that can hang out with?" Like, I didn't really get that. I'm not sure. It didn't really make sense to me, and I don't know where they're going with Sister Jen.
I got it in the essence of she doesn't have to. She feels that she doesn't have to worry about Jen freaking out.
Oh yeah, they can't affect Jen. Jen, Jen is a little bit of a one who gets frustrated easily and isn't really like she's the one who's probably going to get kicked out and never be a sister. Like she's just not maybe committed, right?
Right.
Or not able to. So she just doesn't have it. So that's why she can hang out, I guess. I don't know. I was also disappointed that we didn't really see after that huge reveal last week that Theodosia could like, turn herself into like any other dead person. Well, I don't know. We didn't even know what the rules are of what Theodosia did. And was she even in this week's episode? I don't think so. Or she
was standing. Yeah, she was standing next to Valia when Michaela said, she's like, "What do you?" I forget what the hell she says. Something about what do you have planned for this one or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was the extent of her.
That didn't really go anywhere either.
No.
Yeah, and probably won't. We have one more episode left. I don't even know after like this huge reveal. Like, I gotta say, I do love a show that gives you a big reveal in the penultimate episode, and then we wait and see what happens in the last episode, right? Like a lot of shows have a huge cliffhanger in the last episode. Like Walking Dead was one that used to always kill someone in the second to last episode would be when someone gets killed. I mean, I love that they gave us this huge thing, and I love they gave it to us because 6. Like, I still continue to think 6 episodes is maybe not enough for this show. And it's been
how big was the book?
Well, this wasn't a book. This is a
yes, it was. This was written by
the son?
by Brian. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this was a book. I thought this was like
Brian. Yeah. There's after Frank Herbert died, Brian, like, not only did he finish the Dune series, but then he's written probably like 5 or 6 other books, I think.
No, it's not. So I just Googled it. It says it draws upon but is set after the Great Schools of Dune novel trilogy by Brian and Kevin. So it's not a direct adaptation of those books, but it's based on them. But the material is just so dense, right? That it actually, so I gotta say, if you guys are watching Foundation, I sometimes I'm thinking about this episode and I get a little confused. I'm sometimes like, that's in Foundation. That's not in this. Foundation is similar, right? I haven't read Foundation either, but it's also like one of the most important works of science fiction that also is like 800 dense pages and multiple novels that are like 800 pages each, right? And it also involves emperors on planets and all this business. And it's also spacey and weird. But yeah, so I totally hated this show after episode 1, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens in episode 6.
Like we said, it was just really slow to start.
Fletch, you like Foundation? Let me tell you, I hated season 1. It took me a really long time to get. I forced myself to watch. It took me a long time to get into Foundation. It's a big ask for viewers, those first few episodes, that whole first season. But now I like it. So I guess that we pretty much wrapping up this episode, right? Like a lot happens, but Dune is not an episode that involves as much conversation, I feel like, than other shows. So anything else you guys got, or does that just bring us to our next show?
I think it brings you guys to the show that's not a show.
Jamie, you got my text? Earth Abides. I'm convinced Earth Abides is not really a show. It's a series of vignettes. It's not really there's not a plot. There's no characterization. There's not I can't believe episode 3 and they're already up to 14 years later, right?
Yeah. I said before, it's more of a character study than I don't know how else to describe it. It's about the characters more than anything and just about their lives kind of.
And yet it kind of isn't.
It kind of works at the same time.
I don't feel like it does.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, because I feel okay, so in this week's episode, seriously, 7 more characters are introduced to the show this week, right? So we only had 2 people on the whole show for the first 2 episodes, right? We have Ish and we have Emma. And they get together, and then this week we meet. They don't make a lot of photos available on MGM, but we meet Maureen and Jorge, and they're a couple. And then we meet Molly, Jean, and Ezra, and they're a throuple. And it really irritates me that every single person in the end of the world is shacked up. Not because they're okay, I don't really like you, but we have to procreate. No, they literally just fall in, what the hell? You automatically fall in love with the only person, what? I just don't believe that everyone at the end of the world is fully compatible with each other the way this show is, right?
Yeah, I do agree with that.
It's really convenient that only couples live. It's not really good for people like me, I guess. I guess I won't live because I'm not in a couple. Or a throuple. But it irritates me that everyone is all shacked up together. And I feel like if it was a character study, so every time I think there's something coming, it doesn't happen. So in this episode, we meet Evie, right? Who's the feral child who Ish finds and picks up. So what did you think of that story with Evie?
I don't know. I think it was the part with him trying to kind of calm her down was interesting, but we don't really, I think at this point really see a whole lot of her yet, do we? To really know.
No, but there's this whole bit she doesn't speak and nobody knows why, right? And so then Ish and Jorge go to the camp where she was living. And they're oh, some bad shit must have happened here. They think it looks like she was kept hostage. It looks kind of creepy and weird, but there's not really any evidence that she was. It looks like somebody was tied to a chair or whatever, right? And then Maureen talks to her, and the kid has scars on her arms, and there's this whole idea. So the whole thing is that she had an abusive father. Her father was abusive, and there's this fear that someone's going to come. Have we taken her away from her family? Is someone going to come to find her? Is her father coming to find her? And it just never goes anywhere. Right.
Right.
And so this is not what happens. I read what happens in the book, and in the book, this is not what happens. She's not an abused child who they find. She's actually in the book. So the book was, I dove into the book today a little bit because I'm so frustrated with the show. It was written in 1949. And she's a person who is maybe, she doesn't speak, but she's maybe developmentally disabled. And so they take her in, but they won't ever let anybody, she can never get married or be with someone because she doesn't really, it sounds like the story has some 1949-ish ideas about people who are not typical, right? Anyway, that's not what happens in the book, but I felt
I was going to say, but that's not how this happens. So
there's this threat that someone's going to come for her, but it goes nowhere, right? And then these people show up, and there's a threat that they're bad people, and the part, Jamie, where Ish doesn't trust them and Emma does trust them.
Yeah,
it didn't go anywhere. All of a sudden, it's 2 years later, and they all got a bunch of kids together.
Well, I think it's more, how do I explain this without, I think it's more the fact just that like he's not trustworthy, not willing to trust, like he's worried and is afraid to trust him where she isn't. Because that may become important later. I don't want to spoil anything, but that's really the only thing I can say to that is it's more about, I think, the way they like she's accepting and he's worried.
I get that. That could be cool, but it doesn't, like, this is episode 3 of 6, right?
No, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. And that's why I keep saying it's like a character study. It's like things happen in each episode. Like you said, in this one, the whole attack at the end, which is like a big thing, but it's like there's these like events and then they move past them as time goes on, because it's more about the way they're learning to adapt to the earth, I guess, is kind of.
I guess it what bothers me is like you don't see them adapt. They just all of a sudden, like we see a baby being born and then we see the baby is 7 and then the baby is 14, right? Like there are 2 7-year time jumps in this episode. So we don't really see them adapting to anything. Which my understanding is the book is much more about people having to adapt to a post-civilization environment and a post-mother and like a mother nature, post-technology situation. But like it doesn't really, like Ish doesn't trust, Emma does. It doesn't go to her, and Emma's always right. Like Emma's like, oh, like it was Emma who wanted Maureen and Jorge. Guess what? Now they're in love. Emma wanted to trust these people. Oh, and how convenient is that one is a surgeon? Of course.
Yeah, I know.
Surgeon you live.
I feel like what are they talking about? A dog. I'm reading what they're saying in the chat. I feel like this show has kind of the opposite problem of a show where you don't get enough character development. Like we worry sometimes that, and like everybody knows I love From, but sometimes they move really quick and like you don't have time, you don't get to spend time like learning about them. And this is like the opposite problem of that. It's like you have all this about the characters and not enough plot moving.
I have to really disagree that we have any character development, Jamie. It is episode.
Well, not necessarily character development, but you're more spending time. I'm just saying that there's more like the characters together and not so much like actual action is more what I'm saying. Like there's not enough going on.
You're saying it's called, there's a word for that. It's called boring.
It's boring. I mean, it's episode 3 and there already have been 9 characters. 2 of them are maybe dead. The Vegas people are probably dead, but like it's episode 3 and already 14 years have gone by and there are 7 people that we have not really spent any time with. And then time is devoted to, so I got to say, so Jean, who is like kind of used to be she was a musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like an alcoholic and like whatever. And then she sang and like, holy cow, that woman can sing. That was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we had like a 3.5 minute segment of her singing when meanwhile I'm like, what is like, could we just have a little bit of like something? Also, how about that part where Ish is driving his car and he runs over a baby mountain lion and he's going to put it out of its misery. And then he never does. And he comes back and it got away. I'm sorry. Did it grow up to be this cat that attacks him? Is it the baby mountain lion getting revenge? Like it really.
Is that a bad picture or is it?
Yeah, it's
a bad picture.
It's a screen cap from the TV.
I assumed it was the same animal, but I didn't really think about the size of it.
Well, it's 7 years later.
Is it? I didn't. Okay, then yeah, I would assume it's the same animal. I mean, I think
really?
It's supposed to be. That's how I took it. But you're right; it doesn't explain it. But considering it was there and then it wasn't, and it didn't go anywhere, like you said, I kind of assumed that it was supposed to be because he didn't kill it; it came back.
I don't, because I think it's ridiculous that the same mountain lion would get him 7 years later, and I assume there's more than one mountain lion living in the world.
Yeah, there could be. I don't know. It didn't say one way or another. But
like, I don't know why they made this big deal that the mountain lion, he hits a baby mountain lion with his car, and failing to shoot it was disgraceful. And then he comes back and it's gone. And I was like, and they made it like people were creeping in those woods and stuff. And then it just goes nowhere. The show.
Yeah, I'm not sure if a lot of that's some of that's in the book or what. I mean, I think it also was showing the fact maybe that he's not like adept at taking care of the issue, but also that girl, gets scared because he's like shooting the animal. But yeah, no, I agree with you. There are a lot of threads like that just sort of, it didn't become part of it. I don't know. This show isn't like really different than anything else. It is very slow. I mean, I didn't necessarily mind it and I liked it, but like I watched it all together. So sometimes, I see it different because I don't have to wait a week in between. But there isn't a lot of action. That's what I said. It's a very slow burn.
How do you feel about the time jumps? I don't really love these time jumps, and I'm not sure if they are trying to do the whole book in 6 episodes, or I don't know if the book has these massive time jumps, but to be like, I'm pregnant and next scene is the kid's 7-year birthday, and I'm to believe that pretty much nothing happened in 7 years that was worth talking about, and then next thing you know, they're 14, right? And I'm like,
yeah, I assume they're doing, and I haven't read the book, but I'm guessing that the season is the book. So they're, trying to move through the whole thing. That's what I assume.
From what I understand, what I've read about the book, I understand that it's a little bit more about Ish wanting to teach his kids about history and about previous civilization, and he wants to teach them all about like math and science and geology or whatever. And they're all like, yeah, whatever. We don't really care about the time we were born. Now we don't really care, and they
don't need it. Yeah.
Well, that he can't bring back. Not that he's trying to bring it back. He's not like trying to the way The Walking Dead is trying to maybe bring stuff back. But he's trying to teach them things. Like, we don't need to know. Why do we need to know methods? Like a kid saying to your parents, why do you need to know this? I'll never use this. I need to know how to shoot an arrow, not how to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, the time jumps might be because the book actually goes through like his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Until in the book he ends up having grandchildren. So I don't know if they're going to do that whole thing in one season, but I think these time jumps are a little too much for me. Like, am I supposed to believe that nothing interesting happened for 7 years?
I think that's part of the thing. As much as it's, like I said, a slow burn, it moves too fast through time for me. I agree. Like, I think the time jumps are too big sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, a 7-year time jump is kind of a lot. I mean, there was also like that big storm. By the way, I texted Jamie during the middle of the show when Lucky the dog died, and
I was not happy with that.
As soon as I was screen year 14, I was like,
yeah.
Well, the dog came in year 1. How long can he live? I knew the dog was going to die in this episode,
mm-hmm.
but like that poor dog. Like last week the dog got attacked by rats. This week a tree falls on him.
Yeah, like couldn't they have just let it die of old age? Did they have to?
Yeah, couldn't he die peacefully? I mean, I get it that it was his first friend and his first companion that he had when he was alone for that first year. And another thing that I think they failed to really do much with was all these new people coming. And, they got all these people now in the house and next door neighbors finally and all this stuff. And Ish says, like, I kind of miss when I was alone. Like he wants to return. He doesn't trust these people. And he was a loner anyway before the end of the world, right? Like he was literally this dude that sat with a bunch of books in a cabin and was like a geologist. And he was used to being alone. And that part where he like misses solitude and doesn't like having these people around, they didn't do anything with that either, right? Like it didn't really go anywhere. He just always gives into Emma. Like whatever Emma says, he's like, whatever, fine. I mean, I guess happy wife, happy life, whatever. But they're just rushing through it too much. It's funny because you think there's like a lot of character development, because I think there's like no character development. I think it's like going too fast.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm just saying more the idea that it's more time spent with the characters than actual plot, I guess.
I guess they don't really do it, but it's fake plot. Like there's 5 minutes of some possible storyline, and then they're just like, whatever, let's do the next thing. I mean, I guess I mean, maybe this needed more episodes to really convey something about. It reminds me a little bit of Station 11, which was a post-pandemic story that also was about like a generational shift where the people who could remember life before were kind of really into it, and the kids who were born after were like, whatever, this is like who cares, right? They weren't that interested before. But that was like, it was longer, and that was like really true character work, I thought. Like, did all three of us watch that, or just me and AJ?
Just you two.
I didn't watch it.
Okay, just you.
I watched it. That had, I mean, it's kind of depressing, but it had more real character work, I thought. And that divide from actually they used to call each other pre-pandemic and post-pandemic people on the show, or in the book.
Before the blip and after the blip.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'll watch the next 3 episodes because it's 3. But if there were 10 more, I would probably abandon this show. Although, if there were 10 more, it would be better, right?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
I just feel like, listen to Fletch. MGM instead of this could have made a From spinoff.
Yes, that would have been better.
Yeah. So So okay. So I just bitched the entire time. So Jamie, set me straight on some of the. I mean, I guess I was never gonna like a show where animals, like, okay, where the dog died, a mountain lion gets by a car. Last week he shot this poor cow that was just eating.
Yes, I don't like the animal stuff either. You know that. So I totally 100% agree on all that. And that's why I said they could have at least had the dog at the very least die from old age. I was not happy with that. But at least you don't have to worry about the dog now. Like, I threw the whole thing. I'm like, they're going to kill the dog. They're going to kill like, I hate doing that in a show. Like, when you're constantly worried that something's going to happen to it. So at least there's that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I had to watch this show week by week, I would like it less. Like, I think it made a big difference watching it all together because it's slow, but it jumps. There's so many time jumps through the whole thing. It's like I said, it's different.
Right. You binged it in like one night because you had to interview somebody, right?
2 nights, but yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you didn't notice its flaws because you were in a hurry.
No, I'm saying, like, I see that, and it is slow. I agree with that. I think because I watched it all mostly at once, it didn't irritate me as bad as you did. I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, I
don't know. I understand what you're saying, Jamie. But for me, that sounds like I'd be bored to tears for 4 hours.
I mean, slow is justified when it pays off. I just feel like,
like Dune.
This episode
Dune
was
slow
5 acts, and it never paid. Yeah, Dune paid off. Dune was slow, but it finally paid off. Nothing pays off. Like, unless I'm supposed to really believe, like, I could actually, at this point, it would be good if. And by the way, do you see that I named this photo needed a caption and I wrote "Eat Me" because because this is where the cat grabs him by the genius bobcat or whatever it is, mountain lion, grabs him by his belt buckle and is pulling him into the woods to eat him, right? Honestly, Jamie, I was kind of, if I didn't know that the book takes him into his grandfatherhood, I think he could possibly die. Like, how could he survive that? Oh, you know how he survives it? Because lo and behold, a surgeon showed up in the previous act, right? But
I don't know. I think that maybe this show, and this is kind of like what you were saying, I think that maybe this show would have done better having more episodes so the time jumps aren't quite so huge. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting because it's different. I appreciate the fact that it's, like, I get what you're saying. Like, when I'm saying character development, you're right. It's not exactly character development, but it's like I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. Like, sort of like an intimate look. Like, we're so used to seeing these end of the world ones where they're totally are constantly running into everybody. And there's like huge groups of people. And it's all about, like, surviving against the humans and everything. And as you go on, there may be elements of that, but it's more about surviving on their own, I guess. Like, it's just different. It's a different take on that kind of show, but it is definitely slow. I'm not denying that, but I just thought it was interesting because it was a lot different than anything I had
seen. And okay, so you have
is it my favorite? No, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It's but a flesh wound. Well,
and okay, you have a good point, Jamie, because to be fair, I complained about the Walking Dead, every Walking Dead show, the entire franchise. I complained that it appears the only people who have survived are psychopaths, cannibals, religious fundamental, like only really psycho. When's the last time they met somebody nice on any Walking Dead show?
Yeah, and this is more normal, everyday people.
But like when that guy from Harry Potter showed up in like season 7 of The Walking Dead, was the last normal person who showed up, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like, I'm always complaining to you, and we both talk about it. Like on The Walking Dead, every single person you meet is like wearing human skin or a cannibal, right? Like,
and to some extent they become like that because of the way the world is. This isn't to that point yet. This is just people being on their own. And
I mean, I don't think they become like that. Humanity has lasted tens of thousands of years without really becoming cannibals, not because right? Like, I mean,
yeah, but I think I guess I'm more like in The Walking Dead, they have to learn to kill people or they're never going to survive.
Well, in The Walking Dead, they don't meet nice people because nice people are boring. On this show, they only meet nice people and it's boring.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just like I said, it's completely different from that. And so I appreciate the fact that it's a different take on it. I mean, I didn't read the book, so I don't know. Maybe the book does a better job of it, but
yeah. And so, but as a side note, I see your comment, Fletch, about the Walking Dead franchise. So we have covered on this show. We cover that franchise, and we cover The Last of Us, and we did cover Daryl's season 1 and season 2. And we did enjoy that show a lot more than some of the previous. So if you're interested in any of the Walking Deads that are coming around, we will be talking about them when they show up on the air. And when The Last of Us comes back.
Yes, Last of Us. Now that is a good post-apocalyptic show. That's probably my favorite post-apocalyptic show.
Yeah. But this that is a terrible piece of CGI, isn't it? I mean, it's a screen cap from a TV.
It's a bad screen capture though, too, to be fair. It is like a really blurry screen capture. But yes, it isn't great CGI. I would agree with that too.
I mean,
but it's an MGM show. I mean, From doesn't have the most huge budget either.
Well, From doesn't have.
They do. They make I think they use it better, I guess.
It doesn't
what
help.
I was gonna say.
It doesn't help that I had to crop this photo when I cut off the tail, so it looks like a guinea pig.
It looks like like it's got a bear butt or something.
It doesn't look like any kind of a feline at all because I had to crop it so that I could get screaming Evie up there in the corner. Yeah. I probably should have cut it but it looks like sort of a I don't know what it looks like. But this show, so 3 more episodes, it'll be over, and maybe it'll get better, but probably still be boring. But
I can't disagree with the From spinoff comments. I would have rather have seen that too.
Well,
but that's not happening right now.
I mean, one thing to say was this show was probably produced and in the can before MGM went on to Amazon. Now.
It's possible.
I don't know what their deal is. I think it might just be distribution. I don't know that Amazon is putting money into MGM shows, but certainly MGM could get more money by having more subscriber, right? I paid to subscribe. So maybe they'll get some money and have a more, I mean, the buffalo looked pretty good in this week's episode. There was a buffalo in the middle, a bison in the middle of the road, right?
Yeah. And I think I said this last week that I think they did a good job. What I like to see, and you'll see more of as it goes on, this isn't a spoiler to say this, but you'll see like the way the environment has changed and stuff over time, which I think they did a good job of. Yeah. At least from the part that I had, seen right now. But you're talking about the subscribers. The only thing is do they have, I guess it'll like I questioned how many subscribers they have. I don't know. Because all I hear is people saying they're canceling it after From. So I don't know that that's like a true.
I get it,
but I don't know. It's not a huge network.
No, I paid for From. I stuck around for Earth Abides, and maybe I'll watch whatever else they have. Will I cancel? Maybe. I did already see Beacon 23, which didn't get renewed again, right?
It was supposed. I thought it was renewed for a second season. Why am I thinking that?
It was like 1
Unless
million.
I'm mixing it up with something else.
It feels like it was on TV in like the 90s. It was so long ago.
Yeah, it does seem like it was a while ago, but I thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, maybe it was two. They put both pieces on together. It sounds like.
And I watched. Wasn't the man that fell to Earth? The man who fell to Earth was on MGM, right? I watched half of that.
Oh, was it? I didn't.
And I think
it says it was renewed. I don't know. It seems like maybe they put half. Then like they might have put it on not that long, separated from each other.
If you renew a show that Lena Headey is on, you got to do it right away. You can't get Lena Headey like scheduling wise. Yeah. I can see why.
Yeah.
Why that would be a problem, but
I think that they need more content. I think maybe once they start getting more of their own shows made, like it's a fairly new network in the scheme of having its own content.
I just want them to get a better CGI bobcat, and that's not a bobcat; it's a mountain lion. Bobcats are small. Actually, I thought, Jamie, that might be a real. It was so big that I thought it might be like a legit African lion that escaped from the zoo. Like, it's so big that I don't know how big. Anybody know how big a mountain lion is? Because that thing is gigantic, and I thought it was like a legit, like some kind of African, like people from the San Francisco animals from the San Francisco Zoo.
The people escaped. No,
yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not the person to ask that.
Right? It's as big as a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they're big, but I don't know. I don't know enough about them to give you a good answer. But to answer Fletcher, we did not. I am going to try to catch up.
On Yellow Jackets? I didn't like
how that goes. I had a hard time getting into it. I don't know if I'm assuming if he's asking, he's seen part of it. I didn't kind of love the way it reminded me of some other shows. I don't think I got far enough to get into the mystery part of it. I was just into I really could do without the whole cannibal. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't really my type of thing. I've said before, I'm not a huge horror person. Like, if there's lots of mystery in it, I might like it if I go further. I think I just didn't give it enough time.
I didn't give it enough time because I don't like, I'm not the hugest fan of the actress who come on, the woman who, it opens and they've like come back, they're grown up, right? They've come back home and it
shows both like the present and the past, however you want to say it. It keeps going back.
Is that Juliet? No, her name is anyway, I'm not the hugest fan of that actress, which doesn't usually put me off from watching her.
You mean the one that's from Adam's Family? I can't think of her name either now that you said that. At least I'm assuming that's who you mean. I know a couple of minutes. Melanie
Linsky. I'm not the hugest.
I like her, but I
actually liked her in The Walking Dead, but I'm not the hugest fan of
The Walking Dead, or do you mean The Last of Us?
Oh, The Last of Us. It was The Last of Us.
Yeah, I liked her in The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. And I just watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't love it. None of us were into it. AJ, you didn't watch Yellow Jackets, right?
No.
I mean, I know people love it. It's supposed to be really great. I know a lot of the From people, the Fromily, are a lot of Yellow Jackets overlap there. And I know people love it. And maybe I'll give it another shot because sometimes shows I don't like, I get into.
That's why I'm gonna try it again. But if it sounds like it has a mystery to it, so I may like it. Like, if it doesn't have enough mystery, I probably won't continue, just because, like I said, I'm not a huge horror person. That's why it's kind of I don't know. Like, if From didn't have as much mystery, I don't know if I'd be as into it.
I think one reason I didn't like Yellow Jackets was because I think we tried to watch it around the same time that In the Wilds came out, and we all liked In the Wilds so much.
The Wilds, yeah.
The Wilds, yeah.
The Wilds. We liked The Wilds so much, and it seemed kind of similar, but
that could be why, yeah. And we just went more into that.
Although the
Yeah,
wild,
I remember seeing the beginning of it, and I remember like I liked kind of the beginning of it, but I didn't go. Yeah, I didn't. I think I just didn't go far enough. So I'll have to see. But I'm watching Severance first. That's my first one on my list. Then I'm gonna move to Yellow Jackets.
yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on my list. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll have more time in January. So we got some. So next week, I guess we should wrap this up, you guys, right? But
yeah,
Jamie, you have some announcements to make before we talk about like what's coming up next. Anything new on the website or whatever?
Yeah. I will say that the actress in this one who plays Maureen, Elise, I don't know how to say her last name for sure, Levesque. That interview, yes, her. That interview is up at scifivision.com. There's not a whole lot right now because of the holidays. Some of it was more stuff I was catching up on because I had been sort of behind on some of it. But I do have an interview with Ron Perlman that hopefully will go up tomorrow.
For what?
To finish
what
it.
Show?
The Day of the Fight. It was a movie. It's an independent movie that Jack Houston had directed.
Okay.
That I'd seen because I did the interview with Jack and then I got Ron, and yeah, that I'm hoping to get up tomorrow. I have been it always seems like there's nothing and then 50 things to do at once. So
yeah,
I'm catching up, but yeah, that's coming. So that was cool. And yeah, I mean, other than like Mayfair Witches, which I know you guys aren't excited about, there was that coming on call. Some different things, but not really anything that we necessarily cover other than we did cover Mayfair Witches before.
right.
I'm trying to see if there's anything.
I'm gonna. Are any of you guys? Did I ask you this last week? Anybody gonna go see War of the Rohirrim?
Maybe. I don't know. It depends if I get time to see it.
I'm gonna try to catch
Homestead. I covered Homestead.
I'm gonna try to catch that movie. I don't think that movie's gonna be in theaters that long, so I want to go and try to catch it.
No,
what
the Rohirrim thing? But I was gonna say Homestead is kind of. I don't know if it's exactly apocalyptic. It kind of is. It's not sci-fi, but it's about a bomb going off and.
Right. Well, AJ, are you gonna go see Rohirrim? I mean, it's Lord of the Rings. You're not a Lord of the Rings guy.
No.
All right.
I would
like to see it.
I'm in the camp of I read the books a long time ago. I feel Peter Jackson did a decent job, and I'm good.
Oh yeah, I think you just I mean, so still the Sage. You know that War of the Rohirrim. It's an anime. It's animated in an anime style.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I forgot you said
that. Animated in anime style. So, Mayfair Witches. We are not a huge fan. Well, AJ and I are not huge fans. And we probably won't cover it this season because Jamie can't. But Jamie, you can cover it, but you can't get AJ and me to watch it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it was Mayfair Witches is not like Interview with the Vampire. It's a lot different tone, and it was. Yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I know you guys won't watch it, so we probably won't cover it. But I mean, it was very strange. That's all I'll say. It was weird.
We do. I mean, weird. Interview we do love. So
yeah.
All right, so we're back next week with Silo, with Earth Abides, and the finale of Dune Prophecy will be next week, and then
next Tuesday.
Yep, and then we might have a little. Oh, Jamie, in the meantime, you're going to be back with the From show.
Yeah, wait. I was just going to say, actually, are we going to be back next week? Because next Tuesday is Christmas Eve. I don't think be able to be here. I didn't even realize that until I just looked it up. So.
Yeah, so I have to go to family dinner on Christmas Eve, and the in-laws are Brazilian, and they like to have dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. So I probably won't like Brazilian.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was Christmas Eve. So I'm guessing this show, it'll be 2 weeks from now when we come back.
Yeah, so we'll probably, well, then it'll be New Year's Eve the next week, right?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, we'll discuss it. If you guys look on the community page, we'll mark if it's going to be a different day. You'll see when it pops up, and I'll put it on X when we're going to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can probably do it New Year's Eve, but not till midnight. We'd want to quit it.
We'll talk about it. We could come back on Monday.
We'll talk about it off air, and you guys we'll
we
see.
Could schedule a different day.
Right. But we'll see. But Saturday is the third episode of From the Watch Party, and I'm going to open Discord here.
Season 1, 103.
Season 1, 103, is the watch party for that. I don't know if
Saturday.
Let me just copy the whole invite to the channel. That's probably easier. Is the sorry, I'm trying to copy it as I'm talking. Is the watch party in Discord, which I'll post the link here. If you haven't joined the Discord, please do. That's at 8 p.m. on Saturday Eastern, and then Sunday night, of course, at 10:30 p.m. is from. Whoa, why did it say error?
No, it's there.
Okay, mine said an error occurred. Anyway, I don't know. But Sunday is our deep dive with Julie and Scarlett. That's on Sunday at 10 p.m. 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will not join you on Saturday. The Ravens game got flexed to Saturday at 4:30, so I will be working at the stadium on Saturday night and not joining you. But I'll try to catch you on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah. Join in, everybody. Hopefully, I'm sure some of the people that are here now will show up. I hope. We didn't get quite as many people for the watch party this week as we did the first time. Not that we got tons for the watch party, but it's fun. We stream it. If you don't know, I'm assuming if you're here, you probably have been in Discord before. But we stream the video in Discord and watch it all together, so that way we're prepared for Sunday's live stream.
Well, it's a busy time of year, so not everybody can,
Yeah, no, it is hard. I know with the holidays and to
some people have to go to I don't know. I don't have to go to parties and have a life, but some people do. So, all right. So thanks, you guys. Thanks everybody who joined us. It's great having you guys, especially some of the Frumley coming over for Silo.
Yes, thank you for sticking around. It's too bad we don't have new From stuff to talk about, but hey, a rewatch is still something, right? And it's still fun.
We have other stuff. We have other intersecting idea. We have a lot of shows that we like together. So
yeah, and as new shows premiere, we'll be adding, of course, new content as it comes out, and I'm hoping for sure to be caught up with Severance at least when the new season comes out. So.
Cool.
I don't know if you guys will have seen it or not, but I'm definitely going to watch it. So,
all right.
And we might do a watch party for that. We'll have to see. But all right. Well, thank you.
Do I sound like I'm rushing this? I have to go to Washington tomorrow, and so I have like a 90-minute drive in the morning. So,
well, I have my other dentist appointment in the morning.
Oh,
They make them like a month apart. I've been waiting to go get my other tooth filled. So yeah, I gotta get up early for that. That's not fun. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Have a good week, and we'll hopefully see you Saturday.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.